So how is the weather there, Kavita?
Today it was drizzling, sir. No idea why is it. It was like very hot till yesterday, and today morning it was mildly there, drizzling. So I got like a bit wet.
Okay. Here we are still facing some traces of winter. How is the weather there, Kavita?
Okay, so we have started.
Today it was
the
drizzling,
live
sir.
sir.
No idea why is it. It was like very hot.
Yeah. So the session is live, sir. I'll just first introduce the students, how it is, then we can start it. Sir, can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, okay, sir. So it is live. Just I'll give you the introduction to the students also once. So yeah, dear students, like good morning all. So I can see like too many people have joined already and you're posting your comments here. So you can meet Professor Binod sir, professor who's given the course communication and soft skills, whichever you're learning, the life basically. So all those contents are completely done by him. And he's a professor in IIT Roorkee, and he's a very busy person, and he has given his time for us today, 1 hour session, just for you to address all your concerns with respect to the career development, with respect to how this course will help you out in learning things, everything. So you can raise your queries or whatever doubts you wanted to talk to sir in the Google form, which we have mentioned in the description itself. So once you fill the form, maybe after the sir's session, I'll read out the questions so that sir will be able to address us with with the doubts or queries you have raised. Okay, so hope this will help you out. So I can see like too many comments in the session that you're greeting, you're greeting sir. I can see that. So whatever queries you have, please fill the form in the mentioned below with respect to the course and all these things. With respect to certificate, with respect to the exam, with respect to the assignment part, with respect to login, all this operation related thing, you can always reply to support email ID, which we have already shared. Okay. So thank you all. So yes, sir, to you, sir.
Okay. So thank you very much, Kavita and your colleague. And I welcome all the participants who have been waiting for the session since long. And it's also my pleasure to know that majority of the people are online today attending this session. I shall try my level best to address your queries. But before that, let me give you a brief about this course. Most of you might be thinking, why are soft skills so essential? And again, those who are already in the jobs, do they really require those skills? In addition, are soft skills simply required for professional purposes or also for personal purposes? My dear friends, you might till now have already experienced that soft skills, which has become a buzzword in professional circles, has its role also in your personal lives. Now, the question is, can we really categorize or name soft skills as to what are the other elements involved in it? To tell you the truth, that there are n number of skills which all of us cannot in a way put differently. That is why this term soft skills has been coined, which can be considered to be an umbrella term and which encompasses so many things. Now, the very first can be personality uh, test or your personality, then communication skills, which actually is a major ingredient of soft skills. So, in a way, we can say that all sorts of behavior that we display, we reflect in our personal as well as professional lives come under the umbrella term of soft skills. So, they are behavioral traits, they are your personal skills. Maybe they comprise communication skills, they also comprise your personality, they also are a part of the thinking that you people have. They also, in a way, can reflect how positive, how negative, how responsive, how reactive, how a go-getter you are, meaning thereby. We also learn under the term soft skills, leadership skills, language skills, group dynamics. Fine. Then your attitude, whether in life or at the workplace, is it not that our attitude also matters? We can respond to a thing both negatively and affirmatively, but all is that nobody should be felt that they have been hurt. Nobody should feel that they have been undermined, underestimated. And then when we talk about communication skills, there are four letters which have actually got a great significance. Say, for example, we call them LSRW: listening, speaking, reading, writing, isn't it? Nowadays, when there's a chance that you have to write, whether on screen or on paper, do we not have to be very cautious? Do we not have to be very conscious of what words we are using? So choosing the words, because we say language skills, the words that we use in our day-to-day lives may not have the same effect when we use them in the professional settings. And even in professional settings, we might be having different disciplines. No, you are actually from a specialized area, you are familiar with the words of that area, but think about the other people who are sitting on the other side. They might not be familiar with it. So that we call jargons, no? Which actually becomes very technical. So every person in his or her professional field uses jargons. Now, the jargon that you are familiar with, I may not be, Kavita may not be, Kavita's colleagues may not be. So what we are supposed to do? We are actually to explain that. We're actually to go for words which actually are very familiar, which are general. But when you are talking to the same people, I mean, people of your discipline, people of your area, you have to make use of those words, whether it is in writing or it is in speaking. So in both ways, we have to be very particular. My dear friends, when we talk about listening, how listening matters is, now today, you all are very patiently waiting for me. Now, if you do not listen to what I say, as a speaker, I perhaps will fail. And as an audience members, you will not be able to extract what I'm trying to deliver. So listening is very important. And in professional settings, one has to listen. And listening also differs. Now, what sort of listening should we develop? We should actually develop a sort of perceptive listening. By perceptive listening, we mean listening with a purpose. I have been already saying in my lectures that not whatever you hear is not listening. All hearing is not listening. So we may hear, but what we hear, maybe we at times forget. That goes into oblivion. So when we have to listen to very perceptively, with perseverance, with a sort of perception. I mean, when a person listens, he is also trying to extract the meaning, because no man can be kept idle, isolated. We cannot remain idle throughout. When the function of our brain is whatever we listen, we immediately want to get something out of it. So listening and thinking go hand in hand. Then, my dear friends, next to that, when you have to speak, because most of you are in a profession where there are times you have to speak. Now, speaking may be for different purposes. You may be asked to inform about the annual budget. You may be asked to inform how certain things went wrong what are actually the remedies, or sometimes for the other, you may also be asked to deliver a talk for some other purposes, not only formal, but also informal, my dear friends. Suppose sometimes you have to give a speech. So, and these speeches also can be for different occasions. For all these situations, whatever way you speak in your personal lives, completely different it is when you are speaking in a professional life. That is why you have to practice all these things. And then comes groups. Most of you might be asked to represent groups. Sometimes you may have to participate in groups. So there also your communication matters. Majority of you are in a leadership position or are trying to situate yourself in a leadership position. Now the question is, who can be a better leader? A better leader is one who not only listens but speaks, who not only speaks but speaks to convince. And when he listens not to one but to so many people. That is why these soft skills are very important, my dear friends. And again, sometimes some critical situation emerges. You have to take a decision. The organization has to take a decision. The organization has to come out with certain clear vision. Now, what to do? We have to take the suggestions of everyone. I mean, you call a meeting, and meetings have become a reality nowadays. Every day, most of you might be asked to attend the meeting or to call a meeting, and something will result out of that meeting. So managing meeting is becoming very difficult. How to manage? As people, most of us are different minds, different tastes, different choices, different preferences. Now, when we call a meeting, maybe all these people are not having the same sort of ideology, thinking, response. As a leader or as a person who has called the meeting, we actually have to have a sort of patience, listening to everyone, and then finally taking everyone's suggestions into consideration and then coming out with some decision, isn't it? So the question is, managing meeting is a Herculean task, my dear friend. Not only that, there are times when you have to write something. And when you write, either you are supposed to write a report, issue a memo, fine. And when you're going to write a report, you also have to see who will read the report, who will take the decision, unless and until you are trying to convince the other person about what you really want to do, your report will actually end in a sort of fiasco, my dear friends. So when you write the report, because report writing, as you might have already learned through the lectures, is a very complicated task. Complicated in the sense that not that all of a sudden you start writing the report. It actually involves so many things: talking to people, collecting the data, analyzing the data, interpreting the data, and finally giving some conclusion or recommendation. And in all that, language matters. Language actually plays a vital role in report writing. Sometimes you may have to write a very short report, instant report. Sometimes you simply have to write a very longer report. You already know that reports are of three types. No, informative. You have to simply fill out certain columns in informational report. But interpretive, where something has gone wrong or something they want you to give the advice. So what you do there, you actually make a lot of analysis, and then you provide your own reasoning, analysis, conclusion. So it's actually a very challenging task. And as people working in organizations, you will come across such a situation quite often. Now, my dear friends, sometimes or the other, you are going to make some sort of understanding, which you call MOU, Memorandum of Understanding. And for that, you have to negotiate. And the person who negotiates has to be very intelligent. One has to look at both the sides, because when you are going to negotiate, there's another party waiting for you, and the another party also has got the same sort of grievances like yours, or same sort of planning like yours. How, as a successful negotiator, you can grab the most for you, but not the least for the other person. Maybe sometimes you have to make certain compromises. Sometimes you have to make some sacrifices, isn't it? So we always call a negotiation to be successful when it ends on the note of a win-win situation. What is win-win situation? Win for Kavita and win for Kavita's other party as well. I mean, when you go for such a situation, you may also have to sacrifice something very coveted or something that is very close to your heart or to your own ideas. So, a successful negotiator is one who looks at both the side, not only at the sunny side, but also at the shady side as well, my dear friends. And then we also say to it that sometimes or the other, you are sent to represent your own organization. There also, you have to ensure that you do not speak something which actually talks about negativity, because you are an ambassador to your own organization. Sometimes you may have to appear at an interview where you may have to reveal some very confidential matters. We have to practice caution. We have to practice our own consideration. So all these things are very important, whether you are going to appear at an interview, or sometimes you may also be sent to conduct an interview. So conducting an interview is also as challenging as appearing at an interview, because you want to hire people, but you are to hire people who are actually well deserving, isn't it? So you have to enter into the area of the person where the person knows his own subject well. And for that, you actually require all these sorts of soft skills. Now, so the course on soft skills is very vast, as you all might have observed. But if you could have listened to some of the lectures, at least some of you will find it interesting, engaging, and then you may be having a lot of questions. As Kavita has also told me that there should be many more questions, and here I stand to answer your questions. Well, Kavita, is that okay?
Fine, sir. I'll just read out the few questions.
Yes.
Whatever. I'm just removing the repetitive questions. So I'm just following the unique questions what student has.
Please, one by one.
Yeah. So I guess this you would have answered, but there's one student who have raised, not one, like a few students have raised, like, how does this course help for future opportunities and better their careers?
Okay. My answer to this is, look at the people in your organization who have already climbed the stairs of success, and you try to observe that person. What are the qualities in that person? You will find he is very communicative, he is very affirmative, he is not negative, he is always a go-getter, he always has a positive attitude, he doesn't have that sort of ego that I can't do it. Rather, he has an attitude that I can do it. And then he is also good at networking. He is also good at mixing with people. He is also good at writing. He is also good at thinking about the future. I mean, what he could do in the days to come if he's given an opportunity or a chance. My dear friends, no one will simply pick you out unless and until they find some sparks in you. But those sparks have to be reflected. And that is reflected the way you work, the way you talk, the way you deal with people, the way your writing reflects what you are. I've been saying through my lectures that your writing represents your personality even in your absence. You are given a very critical situation, and in that critical situation, you will find that some way or the other you have actually not been able to cope up with what are the demands. So, if you have a look at those people, then you will find that you also can climb the ladders of success if you can imbibe some of the qualities. Just keep yourself in isolation for some time and think about, take a paper and write about the things that you find are valuable in your personality. And also on the other side, write some of the areas which we call gray areas, and then come out with something which can tell how you can improve. Can you really improve? Most of the people who are still in the early years of their career, they can improve themselves. And softer skills will always come to your aid. Responding to a mail at the right hour, that's very important. Responding to a call and taking the call urgently or understanding the gravity of the situation are all these such facets which are going to help you. My dear friends, if you have a look at all the successful people in any organization, you will find they are so because they are armed with the elements of soft skills. I hope I'm clear. Please
Yes,
take the next question.
you are, sir, you are. So thank you for that first important question, which any students will ask when they're taking up this course. And second question was, beside this course, what kind of soft skills are needed to get a better job in the world of finance?
In the world of?
Finance.
Okay.
Since these students are into finance sector, so they wanted to understand this, but basically this course is for not particularly for finance background, this is for everybody, right? So you
Right.
answer in that perspective as well.
Okay. Finance is a very sensitive issue. And I do understand that if somebody is very much conscious of what he or she writes, how he or she looks at the figures, that's very important. Another important thing is what is on the anvil, meaning thereby in the finance sector, what are the upcoming areas where he or she can fit themselves, him or her, into that area. That's very important. Moreover, it is actually writing, my dear friend, which is very important, because you will sometimes come across some such applications, some such proposals where you need to discuss a lot before you are going to give the final verdict. And while you are going to write that, please ensure that you write everything very cautiously, clearly. And it is here that language plays a very vital role. Nowadays, there are different sectors in finance also, and you will find that every sector has its own preferences. So please try to find out. This I say to everyone that when they are going to apply for some job, please find out whether you are going to be a fit in that job. Look at the job requirements. Do you really cater to those job requirements? If it is so, please ensure that you are very particular about writing, and you are also very particular about enhancing those skills. I always consider it is one's writing that will represent one's personality. And apart from writing, because sometimes or the other, when you simply apply for a job in the finance sector, it is your application and it is your CV that will actually tell them. Nowadays, there are several other skills also important in terms of computer skills, how you are good at certain skills which are required in the finance area. So if you possess all those things, who can stop you from becoming a successful entrepreneur or a successful manager or a successful CEO. Nowadays, what matters most is how you cope up with the upcoming realities, upcoming challenges. That is why every prospective job seeker must see to it that apart from his or her requisite qualification, one must have some additional skills in the area where one is trying to find a job. I hope I'm okay. Yes.
Perfect, sir. Perfect answer. Like too good explanation with respect to the answers that you're giving. Even I am able to understand how this is very important, basically. So even I can talk to students, even you're not available when they're writing it to me, why this course is important for me, to our support mail ID, even we both will be able to handle it. So thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for.
Thank you.
Yeah. So the next question would be, in nonverbal communication, please suggest a good book to interpret various body postures.
Okay. Now, there are so many books available on non-verbal. And first, I'll rather advise you to listen to my lectures on non-verbal communication. That is one. And non-verbal communication is very challenging when it comes to reflecting that in a different cultural setting. For example, gestures. These gestures vary. When we raise one finger, now it may have several interpretations. Fine? It may be one, it may be something else. But the moment you say this, it again can have different connotations. This actually may be two. This also may have a negative meaning as well. Sometimes this may become a victory sign also. So when you are going to read non-verbal communication, please see to it that apart from the reading of books, you also have to make certain observations. In my lectures on non-verbal communication, I have suggested one very beautiful book which many of you will come across. And though I'm forgetting the name of that book, but that entire book, I'll write in the chat box once I remember. But that entire book actually talks of all these things. I mean, all the non-verbal features, isn't it? And which these non-verbal features have different interpretations in different cultures. For example, when you do like this, this actually means a stop, but this may vary, and again, fine, this may goodbye, fine. So, and in other cultures, you will often find that when somebody simply scratches one's hair, that also can have a different meaning. Putting some fingers on your chin, that will again have a different meaning. Sometimes or the other, when, say for example, I'm talking to two women. Now, there are certain restrictions as to how a person should look at in different cultures when they are talking to people of different cultures. Again, if somebody simply raises one's hand over the hair, that actually in a culture means a sort of romantic invitation. But you see how this varies. You cannot tap the head of a boy in Tibet or in some other cultures because they say that this is the most sacred place and one should not because this may do some damage. But in Indian settings, you put your hand on one's head, it actually means blessings. So it's very difficult, my dear friend, about non-verbal. And there is one very beautiful book uh, where the person says, he actually talks about time, and he says that time plays a very important role, silent language. The name of the book is A Silent Language. Fine. And that's very important. It is by T. Hall, Robert T. Hall, The Silent Language, where he says that time and place, they are very important. Say, for example, Kavita had given me 11, so I didn't wait for 11. I actually logged in before 11. Now, this shows my sincerity. But maybe we can also at times go when it is 11:10. Naturally, some way or the other, my personality will be interpreted in a different way, meaning thereby I do not attach much importance to time, isn't it? So there are several ways, two people walking hand in hand, and if they are two men, we do usually consider that they are friends, but in different contexts they actually think of it having a sort of different sort of relationship with each other. So this is very complicated, my dear friends. Non-verbal communication is very difficult to understand. Again, when it comes to eye, how much you radiate your eyes, whether it is going to be a talk, whether it is going to be, say, for example, an interview. Are you really looking at the interviewer? Are you really facing them eye to eye? When you are speaking to a crowd, how do you manage that eye contact? Are you really rotating your eyes from one corner of the crowd to the another? If you are doing that, then perhaps you will have an overall control about the entire situation, about the crowd. But you give a squint eye to the other person and it will become very negative. Even a positive message delivered with a squint eye to the other person can result negatively. Fine? So that is why there is one quote by Sigmund Freud, where Freud says that those who have eyes to see and ears to hear can convince that no mortal can keep a secret. If his lips are silent, he's chatting with his fingertips. Betrayal seems to ooze out of him at every pore. The meaning? The meaning is that as a person, you cannot remain quiet. Your non-verbal emotions, your non-verbal feelings, your non-verbal behavior is already written as it is written on the face of these two ladies who are quiet, but still they are showing a sort of affirmation because they are listening. If they might not be listening, what will happen? The face will be very morose. No, the emotions will not be displayed that much. We always say that all our emotions are written on our appearances. But at the same time, we should also say that appearances can be deceptive at times. Look at the movies where they know how to manipulate their expressions, how sometimes they are submissive, how on another occasions they are harsh, they are reactive, they're stormy, isn't it? The way a person centers into a room, he actually reflects some meaning, my difference. That is why it's very important for all of us to concentrate on non-verbal things. And we always say that even the gaps between two words, gaps between two sentences, fine, they also mean a lot, my dear friends, isn't it? The meaning does not lie only in words, the meaning also lies in non-words. Sometimes when you become silent, we say silent time is a thinking time. Sometimes when you give pause, that pause actually conveys some meaning. You know, I have always been saying in my lectures that when we talk about silence, silence conceals, silence reveals, silence voices, silence rejoices, silence speaks, silence does not speak also. Silence can be affirmative, silence can be negative. You give an application for leave to your boss, the boss does not speak anything. Later on, we start thinking, what will happen to my application? And in the evening, you may hear from the office that your leave has been granted. How beautiful it is that we give rooms to time. We give rooms to silence. We give room to pauses. I hope I'm clear. Yes, next question.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. So next question, you will be surprised. Tips to
Yes.
improve my English communication.
Actually, it's very difficult, but then it's very easy as well.
Yeah.
Most of us do not have time to read a newspaper, but many of us are interested to read a newspaper. My first advice is read an English daily every day. Talk to your friends in English, informally, fine. And when you talk to your friends, say to it that how does your friend speak? How does Kavita speak? What is her choice of words? Fine. Maybe sometimes you'll come across some such words which you do not know. It will actually keep haunting in your mind. Consult the dictionary. Every mobile phone has got a dictionary nowadays. Life has become so beautiful now. It has become so pleasing. Go to the dictionary, find out the meaning of the words, and not only the meaning, also look at the uses of the words. If you practice it at least for 30 days, either by reading the Hindu or the Times of India or whatsoever, fine, you will find you have already gathered a good amount of words. And that will actually help you. When you're writing something, when you're speaking to someone, please make use of those words. Provided you know there are two meanings, my dear friends. A word may have a denotative meaning, a word may have a connotative meaning. The denotative meaning is very simple. The connotative meaning is when you go beyond, isn't it? We use a word and under the impression that this is feasible, but afterwards, when you think, you start thinking, why did that man say that word? Now, when you start making a sort of exploration about that word, you'll find it becomes very difficult because it may have different meanings. And meanings also vary depending upon the context. Meaning varies, isn't it? So, meaning varies. So, say to it that in which context you are using that word. You are using that word. So, please be conscious of using that word. हाँ बोलिए जल्दी बोलिए एक मीटिंग में हूँ मैं थोड़ी देर बाद में yes, so you have to be conscious of how a particular word in a particular context will mean, isn't it? And when you're speaking and when you make use of a word, that word is also followed by your gesture. One thing that I want to tell you all is you have to be conscious. You see, what did I do? I said one thing and I also made use of our gesture, isn't it? Remember, my dear friends, that whatever we are doing here on earth, God is listening to what we are doing. So suddenly you will find that there is a sort of amalgamation of word and non-word. Meaning is restricted at times in a different context. That is why there are at times controversies, And when this controversy or when this debatable thing appears or occurs, then the person asked says, perhaps it was actually misinterpreted. Perhaps you did not look which sentence was spoken before and which sentence was spoken after. So this is called context. So meaning varies from context to context. So be clear as to in which context you are using that word. Am I right, Kavita? Yes.
Yes.
Next question. But before that, let me tell you that there is a very beautiful book by Alan Pease. Alan Pease. Alan Pease. Pease. Alan Pease. Fine. And in this book, they actually talk about this non-verbal, especially about body language. And that's wonderful. If one simply, and it's just like fiction. If you start reading that book from the beginning, you won't stop it unless and until you have finished it. And it will actually open so many avenues of your thought as to how in the past you were extracting meaning of certain gestures and postures and certain body languages differently. So please read that book. And remember one thing, that when you go from one culture to another, again, meaning will change. Have I not told you in my lecture on nonverbal that when you talk to a Japanese lady, the Japanese lady will not smile in public. And if she has to smile, she simply brings her fingers and tries to close it, because in Japanese culture, they say that to smile in public is to show a sort of disgrace. Fine? That is why a doll in the Japanese culture was not allowed, because they said the doll has got a toothy smile and the doll could not make a proper marketing there. Fine? Yes.
Yeah, so the next question would be, in the era of artificial intelligence, which are the main communication and soft skills individuals should prioritize in order to stay competitive in the ever dynamic environment? So they are asking
Right.
like good question basically.
That's a very challenging question. I always tell people that, of course, we cannot reject AI. We should actually accept AI, but we should not reject I. By I mean that we can learn certain things from AI, but
Very
there are
nice.
certain things which AI cannot
Yeah.
substitute. For example, the beautiful smile that at times we deliver. I think AI may copy us, but the same sort of sentiments will be lacking in it, isn't it? That is why the difference between AI, or the difference between artificial, I mean, we should try to be natural. Artificial should always be artificial. I mean, we write a poem, but when we try to copy it from AI, will I be able to provide the same sentiment which actually urged me to write that poem? I think not. I'm a literature person. I believe creativity should remain. There's a lot of difference between creativity, intelligence. We actually believe in a sort of emotional intelligence. And it also will take some more time for AI to merge AI and EI. Because if AI can do that, then the world will become beautiful. But what about we poor human beings? Let us try to be human as long as possible.
Sorry, sir, I was on mute. Yeah. So as of now, I guess I've answered all the queries. Let me check in case if any new questions have come up. 1 minute. Sir.
Right.
You have covered all the questions. Right. Any other? Yes, sir. We have answered all the questions.
I'm still here. So if any other question comes up, I'm ready to answer.
Yeah, sure, sir.
Let me know the comments also, Kavita.
Comments is related to certificates and with related to assignments. So I'm including that as well, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, there's one question, sir.
They are official.
Yeah, this is with related to admin. So there's one question, sir. I have a problem that if I appear for interview, I don't know how to introduce myself in an interview.
Okay, good. Yes, my dear friends, most of the time I have also observed when I have been a part of any recruitment committee that people are not able to introduce themselves very clearly. I mean, I have found many people starting myself Kavita. And I say that this is the wrong way of introducing. Let us say I am Kavita N. Fine. So tell your full name and say I am. And after that, actually, in a very brief way, you say what you are doing, why you have applied for the jobs. But when you are doing all these things, some way or the other, you are to show them certain hidden characteristics of yours so that the recruiters may be very much influenced by you. I come from a family of farmers, and I believe that farming is one of the most challenging jobs, which many of us are not able to do that. And I do believe that with the sort of job advertisement you have provided, I stand a better and a suitable person because with the sort of knowledge I gathered from my degree of agricultural engineering, I am really confident of bringing some new changes in the field of agriculture, and that actually makes me stand out from the other candidates. Fine. So when you're introducing yourself, not only should you tell your name properly, you should also tell about your qualification, but very briefly, but see to it that the major focus is on your abilities because they do not have much time to scan your entire, they have already scanned, but then they really want to know from you. Don't say anything simply to influence them, but please say things which are true to your caliber and which, if asked, you can be in a position to defend yourself. That's the best way of introducing yourself. Is it okay? Yes.
Yeah, absolutely true, sir. And there's one more student who have asked, like, she is facing, I mean, fear in front of, when she's facing the crowd. So how to overcome the fear of crowd?
Okay. There is a term called glossophobia. Glossophobia. That actually means anxiety of speaking. And when you come across a crowd, I mean, so many people, suddenly you get so much confused. You actually feel yourself a sort of non-entity. But then there are certain ways through which you can do that. Say, for example, one thing maybe it is actually a part of your nature. You never talk to your friends in groups. Fine. Another thing is that you have never practiced the art of facing people or speaking in crowd. So first is please bring certain changes within yourself and your personality by mixing with people, by talking to people. And this starts not only from your home, because in certain situations, the environment in the home may be restricted, but in colleges and universities, they are not restricted. So say to it that you mix with people, talk to people. This is an age where you need to be a sort of extrovert, isn't it? There are two natures. One is introvert, the other is extrovert. And people in the organization whom you consider to be very successful, they are people having this extraversion. And this extraversion is that they are able to talk, they are able to influence, and this can be developed. For you, I mean, the candidate who says that she is very much frightened, what she should do is she should stand before the mirror in her house and she should start speaking for 5 minutes, 10 minutes every day. And after some time, she will feel a sort of confidence. Confidence building is an art. You must always think about yourself that you are the most deserving candidate to be called for this interview. And when you are going to speak to them, please think of a beautiful moment, a beautiful thing, a beautiful flower which is there before you. Visualize, my difference. Visualize that, oh, how beautiful that they have called me here. Perhaps they have been very much influenced, fascinated by my CV or my resume, and here I get a chance. And think of that moment that when you speak something and there are clappings, no huge round of applause. So all these will actually boost your confidence. In some of the lectures, I also tell people that they should actually practice yoga. I mean, concentration. Through yoga, they can concentrate. Before standing near the mirror and speaking continuously for say 10 minutes, 20 minutes, or sometimes for 5 minutes, that will actually boost their confidence. The real booster for confidence is your determination that if Kavita can do, if Kavita's friend can do, why can't I? So let us develop a can do attitude. And then you'll find after some time, this fear of appearing before the crowd goes away. It actually requires a little bit of practice. Fine? And nowadays, it is an age. We often find many people chatting throughout on the screen, but when it comes to speaking or facing a crowd, they feel a sort of difficulty. If it happens so, when you go there, please drink a little bit of water so that it can improve your confidence. It can improve your throat. Fine?
Done, sir. Majority of the questions are clear. And now with respect to the deadlines is what they are asking in the question. And there are people asking that I am introvert, I have shyness, I do not get confidence, I am not able to understand how to reply to a question in the interview which I don't have an answer. I mean, which I don't know the answer.
Right, right. Actually, as I said, it's a part of your nature, but that can be improved. It seems that you do not have any friends, you do not confide in anyone, you do not share with anyone. You know, share and care, these are two very beautiful words. Fine. Kavita has brought one of her colleagues. Now she is sharing with her. And you know, after a few days, they will develop a sort of camaraderie, a friendship. How? Because they will be able to understand each other. They'll be able to understand each other's habits, nature, preferences, choices, choice of food and all. So this happens. You can break that provided you can think you have to come out of that reason of introvert, isn't it? And another thing is that when you go to the interview, not all the questions you can answer. If you're not able to answer some of the questions, there is no problem. Never think that you will not be taken. Fine. If I do not know the answer to a particular question, there is no harm saying, I think I do not know that. Fine. But while you say that, there should be actually a sort of submission that you really don't know. My dear friends, interviewers are there to recruit. They're not there to reject. They also want people the way you want them. So never have this idea that you will not be taken. If one of the doors of the room is shut, the another door opens, my dear friends. Let's try to be positive. And you know, you must develop a sort of positive thinking every day. Fine. There is a very beautiful book by Brian Tracy. Brian Tracy. The name of the book is Eat That Frog. Eat That Frog. Now, the title appears very difficult, but what he says in the book is that when you think that you are not in a position to decide what to do, you actually should see that that is a sort of frog which people cannot eat. You actually have to break that. Fine, prioritize your things. Try to, sometimes, groups also matter a lot. In a small group of friends, talk to people. You can share your own experiences. You can also give a small talk. You can sometimes go for the mock interviews. You can sometimes listen to something and speak. Speaking is an innate human quality, but there are many people who actually are so shy, they do not want to face the camera, the crowd, the appearances, fine, and the mass of people. But that can be controlled over the time. Initially, it may appear to be very difficult. Many good speakers in the past, they also used to have such a sort of anxiety. Some of them used to actually fumble a lot, but with practice, they actually made it. In one of the surveys, even in the US, many people say I prefer death to speaking in the public. Now see, 80% people, and you know such a feeling is called thanatophobia. Thanatophobia, the fear, and this fear, what will happen if I speak? What will happen if I fail? Nothing will happen. Neither the sky will come down, nor the earth will crumble. Fine? Sita will be Sita always, isn't it? So she cannot go down. Fine? So it is actually a matter of practice. You must practice and you will come very successful in the days to come. Yes, Kavita.
Thank you, sir. So I guess we have answered all the questions which is raised by the students. And rest of the things are like with respect to the certificate and with respect to the deadline when they have to complete the assignments, all these things, which we will take care of anyways with the support ID.
Fine.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
So thank you very much. You can organize such sessions whenever it is needed, and I'll be telling you my availability, and I'd really love to answer the queries and to address the crowd. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for giving us your time, sir, in your busy schedule. I know we know like you are completely busy, but still you're making us time. Your 1 hour of session. This, I guess, most of the students will be able to understand now how to prepare themselves for facing the crowd or prepare themselves for the interviews or understand how to improve their communication skills and all about the books which you told that I guess most of the students will take up this book to equip themselves as well, right? So thank you so much, sir, first of all, for giving this wonderful session.
Thank you. You can also suggest them my book, which in a way is very interactive, Communication Skills for Engineers and Scientists.
Okay. Oh, nice. Okay, sir, definitely.
That's published from PHI India, and the second edition came out last year in 2023.
Okay.
Last year, yes. So they can read that also, and they will feel that as if they are talking to, or the author is talking to other readers.
Okay, definitely, sir. I'll do it. I'll definitely send this as an announcement to all the students as well. Maybe whoever are not participating will be able to get this session. Definitely.
Right.
Sure,
So
sir.
thank you very much. It was actually a nice interaction with you all people, and I look forward to meeting time and again whenever situation so demands it. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Sure, sir. Thank you so much. Good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.